You guys ever read the upshot in the New York Times? Me either. Look at this phenomenal article. Millions would lose health coverage under GOP bill, but not as many as Democrats say. Listen, folks, the Democrats have been claiming 13.7 million people will lose their health care under the upcoming budget, but they're wrong. It's actually only 8.6 million. And an additional 5.1 million are going to lose their health care because a bill that expands Affordable Care Act access expires at the end of the year. So it combined, it's 13.7 million. Oh, that's better. Thanks for the nuance. You're welcome. Phenomenal framing, really. I don't know, man. Maybe we can't afford socialized healthcare. Maybe it's not possible. Somehow, despite Doge ruthlessly cutting our government down into its most efficient form, somehow this is actually the second most expensive 6-month budgetary period in American history, surpassed only by COVID, stimulus checks, and what have you. How do bills expire? Can I do that with my energy bill? You can. You might not like the consequences. 1.3 trillion deficit in the first half of 2025. God damn. Well, yeah, anyway. Basic stuff, we're all gonna die, etc., etc. Sheesh. Small government, guys. Well, it will be small, because no one's gonna be getting healthcare through it. Really, though. This is one of those things that really makes me feel like the Republicans aren't expecting to have to win an election again, because the political consequences of 13 or so million people losing their Medicaid access, it just doesn't square. I mean, fuck, didn't Democrats just last night win the Omaha mayoral election by a significant margin, despite the incumbent being a well-loved Republican? I don't know. The waking up is taking too damn long. Yeah, I suppose. I don't think this bill will pass. Republicans can't seem to agree on a compromise. Well, look, the problem is that something's got to give. The deficit is out of control. We're spending an ungodly amount of money every year. Last year, as of 2024, the interest that we pay on our debt, on our governmental debt, is greater than the defense budget. And if that changes this year, it'll be because the defense budget went up so much, which does not help with the interest problem. I mean, we might be like self-inflicting a kind of debt peonage on the country. You know, I mean, you do that with people, right? You make debt slaves out of them. And we've done that to entire nations before too. It's just, we're kind of doing it to ourselves here. If Australia can afford healthcare, surely the United States can. Not at the prices that we pay for it. Why do you think our Medicaid and Medicare take up so much of the budget? Like, people give a shit for our exorbitant, military spending. Have you seen what our healthcare costs? Because the health companies, or the health insurance companies, the medical agencies, oh, you're paying with Medicaid? That's cool. We'll bill the government. Hey, government, that's $50,000. Why is healthcare so expensive? Because we don't negotiate prices for a lot of these drugs and procedures. So we let them run away with the cost. The debt to GDP ratio has been consistently down for years now. That's the only number that really matters. It's not just the debt to GDP ratio that matters. It's debt to government spending. It's total amount of debt, the interest payments, how much we pay on that yearly, to how much the government has to spend altogether. Because past a point, you're borrowing more to pay down the interest of the stuff you've already borrowed. It's a bad cycle. Debt and GDP are fully arbitrary. Well, they're not fully arbitrary. We are the global reserve currency. Surely 20 years of forever wars has nothing to do with it. It's not as much as you might think in the grand scheme of things. I mean, 2024 total government spending, 6.8 trillion spent, and how much of that went to Medicare and Medicaid? Give me the pie chart. I can't process government spending charts unless it's in the form of a pie chart. That's what I need. Having trouble with the pie chart. Come on. Come on. Here we go. There you go. You got Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid right there. Pretty big chunk. Income security programs. That's the mandatory spending. Then in discretionary, you've got defense and non-defense. Net interest. Yee! Look at that. See? For the first time as of 2024, 881 billion paid in interest. Greater than our defense spending. Yikes. Debt to GDP represents the country's ability to service that debt and taxable income. Yeah. Their ability. We know the government has the ability to pay off its debt if it just taxed wealthy people, but it won't. That's the problem. I'm not disputing that the country has the wealth within it to pay off our debts. I'm just saying they won't. Honestly, a big part of it is the fact that in this country, we treat paying taxes as such a chore. You know, no one ever feels like they're contributing to a civic service, right? I mean, we don't really see the effects of our taxes. We don't feel proud of what the taxes get spent on for the most part, so no one feels good paying their taxes. So if you ever raise taxes, it's just seen as a bad thing, you know? Japan is a 250% debt GDP, and that's no problem. Why should debt to GDP matter? Do you think Japan's economy is doing well? Just out of curiosity, do you think it's doing well? Also, it's not the debt to GDP, right? It's how much you're paying on the interest. It's how much you're taxing people. It's like percentage of the overall government spending. It's a whole thing. It's complicated. There's been a 50-plus year campaign to make people think all government spending is waste. Yep. No, there are other factors, and the amount of interest that is spent is controlled by the Fed. I mean, not necessarily, not on existing debt. On the existing debt, the interest on the bonds are already secured, so it would be pretty disruptive to the global economy if the United States was like, actually, we're not going to be honoring the existing $50 quadrillion of debt we have at the interest rate. That'd make a lot of people very angry at us. A lot of countries, a lot of people, a lot of companies. The Fed could buy back the bonds. With what money? With what money, motherfucker? We'll print the money. Ah, you're right. I forgot. We print the money. That's right. That's right. The Fed prints the money. Oh, you're being serious. No. The Fed should not print trillions of extra dollars to just buy back the bonds. That would be bad for the economy. You shouldn't do that. Goddamn, what do they call them? What's the economic ideology where the people are kind of pushy about it sometimes, and I've still never heard a good explanation for it? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. You've all heard them. MMT, thank you. The fact that the neoliberal economic order of the U.S. is not willing to increase its revenue via taxation does not mean it's acceptable to cut necessary social spending. Well, I mean, it's you have to do one of the other, right? Honestly, I think that we're headed down like the worst possible scenario, which is that we're not going to raise taxes enough to make ourselves solvent, but we're also going to cut entitlement spending just to like ease off, just to shave the edge off. You know what I mean? So the world gets much worse for the average American, but we're still horrendously in debt. But it costs more in the long run. Are you suggesting that the path this country is on more or less guarantees oblivion? Are you suggesting there might be some sort of like entropic element to capitalism, like some kind of internal contradiction where you try as best as you can to build up towards some kind of synthesis, but there are internal contradictions that sort of guarantee collapse? You're telling me we got to raise taxes, man. We got to raise them way up. We got to bring that shit up. Do you think a forever Trump dictatorship would ever tax the rich if it came down to actual survival of the country, or allow it to crumble and flee? I don't think the people who are currently running the country care what happens to it. I don't think that like wealthy oligarchs these days really care about legacy setting in the same way that older ones do. I think they're very nihilistic when it comes to the effects of governance. They don't seem to like believe in politics as a project outside of the accruing power personally, which actually distinguishes them historically from a lot of dictators, including, if you will, Adolf Hitler, right? Because usually, even when the worst dictators take power, they have aspirations beyond personal power, usually a legacy, right? Like whatever else, egomaniacs, dictators, they love legacy. Building of a nation, having some parks named after them. I don't really think that's like the driving motivation here anymore. It seems like the first principle for these people is, yeah, essentially that they don't believe in anything. Like they really don't like believe in an ethos or a project. They're just in it for themselves. They're grifters, essentially. It's a grifter government. So I don't really know. Maybe everything just collapses. Who could say? Isn't Trump putting up his banner in D.C. right now? He was doing some more MAGA Maoism. It is pretty funny. Little scary. The conversion of capital to the internationalist institution is now makes it impossible for modern fascists to actually care. They just take their money and run. Yeah, I guess it's like the Russian oligarch thing, right? Where like capital is international, fascism is built through capital. So as a consequence, eventually you reach this point where all of the most ardent, hardcore, rhetorical nationalists are actually just totally disconnected from the world or any place in time or any place on earth, any country, any city. They just are money. They're balls of money that float around. They could live with equal comfort anywhere because they're so separated from the environment they're in. We're just describing neoliberalism again. We're describing the consequence of neoliberalism, but neoliberals ideologically do believe in nation building. They're not nihilistic at all. They're just misguided, right? Sometimes like very dangerously misguided, but like if you ask a neoliberal or if you talk to them about what they want, like they do try to believe things that lead to the country being better. Even if all it leads to is this. I'm sure they're trying their best. Oh, I'm sure.